So thank you very much for your patience, everyone. Just to welcome you formally, so this is our Gomo Learning webinar, and this one in the series is about having a closer look at the exciting new Gomo authoring user interface. And I'm Huw Edwards. I'm a business development executive here at Gomo Learning, and we're also going to be joined by Simon Waldrum, our customer success manager. So let's just have a look at what we're going to be covering in this webinar. So the main focus is going to be on the new Gomo interface, but we also wanted to take this opportunity to be able to introduce you to some other things which are happening at the same time. In particular, Simon is going to take us through some new aspects of the Gomo support portal and introduce our new Gomo Academy. And also, we thought that it would be a useful opportunity just to recap on some of the more recent features that have been added, whether you're new to Gomo or existing customers, but we think that you're going to find that useful. And just to help you with help us with that process, we'd just like to put up a short poll on the screen. We'd just like to find out about whether you're an existing Gomo user or whether you're completely new to Gomo, just so that we can help to pace this. So Harley's just going to put up the poll for us there. So we're just asking you about whether you're an existing Gomo user. I can see the figures coming in there. And we can also see some familiar names. So welcome to our existing customers as well. It's great that you took the time to tune in today. So we can see that we have quite a high proportion of existing Gomo customers as well. So we will be covering some of the newer Gomo features that you might not quite have picked up in the past few weeks as well. But let's move on and discuss the new Gomo interface. So the first thing is here about why are we refreshing the interface? Well, for those of you who've been customers, particularly those of you who've been with us since the beginning, and it turns out it stretches back to 2014, that we've been updating what Gomo does, expanding what you're able to do when you create courses in Gomo, but the actual look and feel, the whole design of the interface has remained broadly the same. So in order to put us in a better position to be able to move forward, that we wanted to create something new and flexible with the Gomo interface. So we really wanted to be able to modernize it, because these days everyone expects a really compelling experience from cloud-based products. And so we wanted to bring it in line of what people are going to expect in a modern user interface, in a modern product. It also gives us an opportunity to standardize. Inevitably, as a product evolves and inconsistencies can come in terms of style and formatting and layout. And so it gave us a chance to be able to step back and to really be able to consolidate that and to apply consistent standards to give you the smoothest possible experience through the design. And it also allows us to be able to build for a better foundation for the future. We've got exciting plans for Gomo as we move forward, and this user interface refresh gives us a fantastic base for that. And also to point out that a lot of this has been driven from the feedback that we've had from a lot of you as existing customers, and particularly from our enterprise level customers who've been communicating directly with us about this. So we hope that we've managed to capture and implement a lot of your feedback about the interface. So let's go in and actually have a look at the interface itself. So here is the first look. For those of you who are already Gomo users, you'll be seeing this look already since we released it a week or so ago. And it's our first glimpse of this new stripped back, clean look that we have within Gomo. So let's log in. And here we see the two parts of the Gomo Learning Suite, and immediately that we can see that we have this new look, both in terms of the icons that we have, but also this animation that we're using to give more of a visual feedback about which are the interactive elements of the site. Let's go into Gomo authoring and just have a quick guided tour here. So the first thing here is our course view. Now, for those of you who are already Gomo users, you'll see that we are now just using the term course rather than projects. So these are my courses. And you can see as I hover over them, it just highlights this to show me what I'm going to be selecting. We also have a new look for the course folders here, again with this consistent animation. And here, if I go into shared content, remember that shared content is where we organize our media resources. So we have this consistent, clean look now to the shared content folders. And again, this nice consistent look here for all of the elements, all of the media resources that we have in the folders. Let's go back to our courses. And let's have a look at just how creating a new course looks. Again, that we've designed this both to help existing users, but particularly for new users of Gomo, to really streamline and signpost how to both create and edit content in Gomo. So I'm going to click on Create a New Course. So for those of you who are already Gomo users, the first message here is don't worry, everything that you've learned about Gomo still applies. You're not going to have to relearn it. And also, any of the courses that you have created already in Gomo will still look and function as great as they do now. So the first thing here is I'm just going to give it a name. We also have here, obviously, the language selector. Remember that in a Gomo course, you can have a single course which you can make available in multiple languages to your customers. I'm going to just click Next here. So it's just showing me on the left-hand side just exactly where I am in this creation process. So I am now on step 2. So this is where I create or make the initial selection about the theme. Now remember that a theme in Gomo is going to give your courses its look and feel. So it's going to control things like the fonts used for heading styles and body text, but also how every element that you add to a Gomo screen looks. And you can take one of these fantastic built-in themes, and then you can just take those and use the theme editor most typically to match your brand colors. But we also offer a custom theme creation service. For those of you who have very specific brand requirements, we can work with you and your brand team to really craft this interface to make sure it exactly matches the brand. But the great thing when you're creating a course, if you've got a team of people working in the cloud through Gomo, then as long as everybody selects the correct brand theme, you can be sure that you're going to get a consistent on-brand look and feel. You're not going to discover that somebody's gone completely off-brand with the wrong colors and the wrong fonts on a particular screen. It also means that increasingly we're seeing that subject matter experts want to be able to use Gomo, and that's part of this new redesign to really help people who are new to Gomo, who aren't necessarily instructional designers, to be able to create great looking content. So they'll just have to select the correct brand theme. They won't need to sit there with the brand guidelines looking up hex color reference values and so forth. So for this, I'm just going to select one of the built-in themes, Duo, which we can always choose to edit next. And now here we've simplified this whole course structure here. So remember that in a Gomo course, a course consists of the top level building blocks that we call tasks. And those tasks in turn are going to be broken down into a sequence of screens that the learner is going to work through. So at this step, step 3, what it's asking us here is, do we want an introduction topic? I say, yes, I do. Do we want a menu? Yes, I'd like a menu. And now we can choose the initial number of learning topics that we want. I'm going to select 4, but as usual, we can always go back in and add as many as we want. We've also streamlined here the supporting content. These are the things that are going to appear in the toolbars. So I'm going to say, yes, I want sort of help, which can be general or specific to the screen I'm looking at, a glossary of terms, so my learners can easily look up a word or a phrase they don't understand. I'm also here going to switch on So just these consistent look to these little radio buttons here, these sliders. So I'm going to say here that I want resources. Typically, I'll use that for a useful list of, say, external web links or PDFs that I want the learner to get through quickly. And now I can simply expand to add in what we call the extras to the toolbar. So if I was making this a multi-language course, I could simply switch on the language selector here. So all this consistent new look and feel here. So I can just click create. And as usual, Gomo's now looking at all of those initial decisions that I've made, and it's going to create this outline structure. And of course, importantly, one step that we haven't added into that new course wizard is asking about screen sizes and devices, because Gomo is going to take care of that for us. So the one course will automatically run across any screen size, any device, any orientation. So here's our top level project course view. And you can see, again, we have this consistent use of the animations here to show what we're selecting. So we have the introduction leading to the menu, and then again, we have this simple branching. But of course, I could always create more complex branching. I could have subtopics here. I can create dynamic branching as well, so that, for example, based on, say, the job role that a learner selects, that could determine both what the learner sees on the screen and also the path that they take through the course. We have the new icons here for the elements which are going to appear on the toolbars. So we've got the 5 slots at the bottom, 5 at the top. So if I want to remove those, again, this consistent look and feel, I can just say remove that from there. And I can simply add that into one of the empty slots at the top. Again, this redesign here, making it clearer to understand what elements have already been allocated and which ones are still available. So I can just select my progress bar to go up there. And now let's go in and have a look at the editor, because again, this has had a refresh as well. So I can just click on the topic that I want to edit, opens up the tab, and again, we can see the new icons appearing in my browser tab there. And so this whole clean look and feel is now taken forward into the actual editor. So here that we have our navigator panel. Clicking on that then loads up the content into the content area here. And now whatever I click on, I get the properties. Again, what we've worked on here in terms of the interface design is to really strip this back and clean it up and to signpost more clearly about which things are available to configure in here. You can see as I roll over these. And again, if I just go into here, we've made the design of what we call these modal dialogues, these setup boxes here, more consistent in there. Again, if we go to the assets here, then we have the consistency here in terms of the new icons which are being used for all my different media resources, my presentation assets, from the basic things like text and images to the familiar pre-built elements we can add in like film strips and carousels. And of course, the whole range of the different types of questions, from the useful things like multiple choice through to the more interactive ones like drag and drop, Likert scale survey questions and so forth. But the important thing is that it's all completely consistent in the interface and that it's all clearly signposted in terms of what I can do and what I can configure. So I hope that gives you at least an initial glimpse of the interface. As I say, for existing users, everything you've learned about Gomo will still be applicable for new users for Gomo, and we'd welcome you at the end to indicate whether you'd like to try Gomo for itself. We hope that you'll find it even simpler to be able to get going with Gomo here. So Simon, I'd like to hand over to you just to tell us more about the new support portal in the Gomo Academy that we've also launched at the same time as the new Gomo interface.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Huw. I'll just take the presenter role.
Yes, we're seeing your screen, Simon.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Huw, for the introduction. And good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I am Simon Waldron, the Gomo Customer Success Manager. So just a little bit about me for the people who haven't met me before. I appreciate we do have quite a few previous and existing customers on here, so it's great to see you again. But I joined Gomo at the middle of 2019. But for the last 15 years, I've been working within the learning technology sector, within commercial and educational environments. And it really has given me the experience to use leading industry authoring and delivery ecosystems, all the way from e-learning to virtual reality and all of those in between. But I was specifically drawn to Gomo due to its continued investment in the learning technology space, because Gomo really tries to engage, with the industry-wide movement towards empowering subject area specialists with industry-leading multi-device tools and resources. But my position here and what that means to the customer, my focus and goal is to provide that interface with our customer and our internal teams at Gomo, and to support and exceed those customer expectations by providing and importantly maintaining excellent customer service. I'm really excited today to show you not only what we've been doing with the new Gomo user interface, but what we've been doing to enhance our level of support available to our customers. And that starts with what looks like a new little button on the user interface. And this came out just before the user interface was launched with the new colors. So those that have taken a look at it, they'll recognize the new UI colors and the continuity that Huw's been mentioning. So if we take a quick look at that before we have a look at the support system, we now have the help support widget in the lower right-hand side of the screen. So what this does is links you to our knowledge base site. So for existing customers, you may be familiar with that when you've had responses from our support agents, or if you've gone to our support site in general. This is a direct link straight to that, so you're able to use it within the Gomo interface. So for instance, if I start to type in one of our recent features, copy screens, if I just type in copy, you'll see it brings up articles relevant to copy screen. And we can actually use it within the widget, or we can open it within the website if we use this link too. So it's well worth taking a look at how that support widget can help you with some of your course builds, or indeed getting started. If I just close that widget, I'll show you one of the new changes that's come with the new user interface. So again, for anyone that's used Gomo before, we used to have a tab at the top here that was called tickets. Now we've changed that and it's called support. So previously you'd create a ticket within the Gomo authoring environment, whereas now if you click support, it will take you out to our support side. So if you are again using Gomo, please do click that. You'll have your activation link, put your details in, and you'll be able to create your tickets direct through the Gomo support desk. Now, why is that important? It's important because it brings with it quite a few new features. Not only is it going to provide additional information to our support teams, where we can provide quicker and slicker responses for you, it's going to provide you with additional information to get that support quicker. So let's take a look at how this interface works. So we were referencing the support widget a moment ago, where we typed copy and it showed you one of the articles. What it's doing is pulling through any of these articles relevant to the search term. So you can go here and have a look at your own leisure. I would absolutely, if you're new to Gomo, have a look at the getting started videos. Things like Welcome to Gomo is a really excellent overview of what the tool can do and how to use it. For those of you who are more experienced with Gomo, certainly start to have a look at variables and display conditions and have a look how you can add additional interactivity to your course design. As I'm already logged in here, you'll see that we can select ticket status or new support ticket. So if we have a look first and foremost at the ticket status, we'll show you what is new. So I have some example tickets in here at the moment. We're able to now filter them, whether that be open pending, resolved or closed. And if we take a look at one of these, we also have a new feature within this whereby we can add colleagues or stakeholders to the tickets. So if you need people to be in on that conversation to support you, you can add them at this moment here just by adding people to the conversation and pasting in the email address. It's really real simple to do. Also, obviously, you can see your status here, either at a granular level. If we go back at the top level, you can see it straight from your ticket status here. So you'll see I have being processed, one has been resolved, and the other one's being processed too. So if we take a look at also the ticket creation, because this is another new feature from introducing it this way. So course ID and name, one thing just to mention here, there's been a change in how that looks within Gomo authoring. So if we're on here, as she was showing you earlier, the actual tree view no longer shows the number across the thumbnail. So if you do need the ID, just select the list view and you can see you have the course ID here. Makes it real easy to put this in here for the support agent. So just do your best to put in there that information required. But importantly here, in terms of those search terms, we now have the ability to have auto suggestions. So just keeping with the theme of copy, as I've typed in copy there, it's going to suggest related articles. So there may be instances here where you don't actually have to raise a ticket, and you could simply just go to the copy screen article and that will resolve, hopefully, what it is you're trying to ask for through the support desk. Also, if we just go back a step to our tickets, for our new Gomo users here, you'll see that actually you can also not only use a support system for perhaps a bug or an issue, but please do also use it for whether it be a feature request or it might be a question about Gomo authoring. We can use it for multiple ways. And one of the new features as well here, just whilst we're on this view, is we now have the ability to export the tickets. So as we can see, we have one of each sort of variant here where we've got a question, an issue, and a feature request. We can not only filter, we can export the ticket and it will give you either a CSV or an Excel file format. So we can see here, I've just exported it and it's just going to give me at a top level view the status of all of my tickets. So it can be really easy now to manage any tickets that you sent through to Gomo. So we're really excited by how this can increase the efficiency for all Gomo users. Now, the next thing we want to showcase to you is the Gomo Academy. So this is all about providing further learning resources for all of our Gomo customers. And it's using the power of blended learning. So we're using things like e-learning, micro-learning videos, PDFs, all of those supporting materials to help you use Gomo from end to end, from start to finish. And it's using the power of Instilled, which is one of our sister companies' technologies. So it's an LXP, a learning experience platform. So we have the power of things like two-click search. You see it's got a very YouTube-esque look and feel to it. And this is being provided to all Gomo customers. If you go to academy.gomolearning.com, and we'll send some information out post webinar, you can go there and you can register and access the content. So let's take a look at how some of this works. First thing I would recommend, if we just go to the first container, as we call them, welcome to the Gomo Academy. And you can navigate this way, or you can navigate via search, which we'll do in a moment. You'll see here we have some information about Gomo and about the Academy. And also, I would suggest taking a look here at the Gomo demonstration. So this has the whole new user interface delivered by Huw, who has just been at the start of this presentation. And you can have a look at that at your own leisure. If we go back to the home screen, I'll show you how we can also use the search feature. So in the top right, I'm just going to search for the term started. And you can see this can bring up anything that we want with the term started in there, and it will take us directly to that relevant article, that relevant video, or whatever it may be that you're searching for. Also, it's worth noting, we're continuously updating this with a lot of the new user interface videos, obviously because we have our new look and feel, but also adding more and more content to this so that we can empower all users, whether you be a new user or whether you be a power user. We've also added a lot of multi-language support in here. So if I just navigate to this starting container here, so Launchpad and support, and this will show you things like, how to log in, how to reset passwords. So when you're just starting to use Gomo. But if I launch this video and just pause for a moment, you'll see we have the option here for multiple captions. And obviously, please do reach out to us. If you see that there's a language in there that you want supporting, we can add support for that language too. We also have the ability not only to have the two-click search and multi-captions on all the blended learning, but you'll see we also have something called chapters. So if we click there, we'll take you straight to the part that actually is required. So you'll see here, straight to the forgotten password area. The other thing you'll have the benefit of when registering is that we have achieved and we have in progress status on these two containers. As these two containers are getting started and rich media buttons and actions have all of the content in them, if you go through and complete all of that content, it will actually have the achieved status and provide certification as well. So we'll send all of these details over to you, but I will pass back over to Huw in a moment, who will take you through some of the new features within Gomo. Thank you, Huw.
That's great. Thank you very much,
to you now.
And I'll just
That's perfect, Huw. I can see it now.
back. And can you hear me okay, Simon?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Simon. That's a really exciting insight into both the new support portal and also, I think, in particular, the Gomo Academy, which I think is going to be a fantastic resource for all customers. And it's great to see the LTG's Instill product being used in that way. What I'd like to do, just to take a few more minutes of your time, is we've been looking at the new interface, about how we're trying to make sure that Gomo is as simple as possible to use, and particularly for new users. But also our development team has been very, very busy over the past few months creating extra features, extra functionality for Gomo, particularly for those of you who are experienced Gomo learners, or maybe you're experienced instructional designers considering a move to Gomo. And you want to have all of that power to be able to create the most compelling and the most really the best kind of structures for your learning courses. So I just wanted to touch on some things that we've added that that might have escaped your attention over the past few weeks. So let me just move some things around my screen here. So if I just go back to my navigator panel here, so I'm in the editor. The first thing is when you come to add in screens. So if I go to the bottom left here, we do have a copy and paste that if you haven't come across this yet, it's incredibly useful that maybe one of your team members has created a great layout on a screen in another course. Rather than having to recreate it yourself, you can simply copy and then just paste that in there. So really enables you to reuse the effort that you've put into creating Gomo courses. But let's have a look at some of the other things that have come along. And the first thing that I want to show you here is now on questions. If I drop in a question here, simple multiple choice, that we can actually trigger actions on questions. So here, nicely highlighted in the new user interface, we can add actions. Now, this opens up a whole range of possibilities, but most typically here, again, based on user feedback, is that it would enable you to say, as soon as the learner has answered a question, then you could choose to just jump to the next screen. So particularly for an assessment, you can just show your sequence of questions. As soon as the learner answers, they can just immediately be sent on to the next question and so on. So to get that kind of flow in assessments that a lot of our customers have asked for. The other thing to do with questions, and this has only just very recently been introduced, I think in the past week or so, is that you can now choose to randomize the answer options within your questions. So in the past, for a long time, we've had things like the question bank so that you can randomize the actual questions themselves. So each time, say, the learner goes into an assessment, they'll see different questions in a different order and so forth. But one of the things that we've been asked for a long time is the ability to be able to randomize the actual answers themselves. So each time a particular question is shown, it will show the answers in a different order. So again, it's to get away from people saying, oh, well, the answer to this question is option 1. So you'll find this in all of the question types that you'll see this option here to say randomize. So again, just adds that bit more flexibility, that bit more power into the courses that you're creating with Gomo. The other thing that I'd like to show you in here, if I just go back to my navigator, is that we've also just tidied things up here in terms of alignment. So in the past that you're able to align text and your images, but now what you'll find is the alignment option here for a lot more of the assets that you can add. So it just makes it really easy just to be able to get your screens looking exactly right. And again, a feature that people have been asking us for a while. And this alignment also extends to things like backgrounds, and in particular video backgrounds. So here, if I go to my project's theme settings, what you'll find now is alignment options here, not just for the default background image, but also for how any kind of background video that you're going to put in there can be used as well. So it really helps with that power of background video. So it no longer just has to be some kind of abstract video. You can actually have a specific video playing as the background and choose the alignments that you're going to have there. The other thing to point out in terms of the settings that to do with screen blanking. Now, by screen blanking, what we mean is that if you have a question and then you pop up what we call a subscreen, essentially the pop-up window, that before the learner would have to actually click the close button to be able to close that subscreen before they could open another. So you might have hot text with a number of headings, and the learner would click on one heading, then they'd have to close the subscreen, click on another one, click close. With these options here, you can choose to show or hide what we call that blanking layer. What that will mean is that if you switch off that blanking layer, it will mean that the learner can just click on another heading immediately. They don't have to click the close button of the subscreen. They can just click on that heading. So again, in some ways quite a subtle thing, but for those of you who are learning designers, it can be really important for that whole learner experience. The other thing in terms of getting that kind of control is, for example, here, if I get rid of the image, and I'm going to add in, say, a video. Now with the video, then we have a couple of things here I want to point out. For a start, that you have these options, again, this nice clean interface in the new UI. You can choose what elements are going to play on the video play bar, including, for example, you can actually remove the progress bar so that the learner can't just sort of scrub through the video. So if you want to impose that kind of rigor, you can simply by removing those options. And remember that you can also be using display conditions on the next button, the screen status display condition, to say, well, you can't actually move on to the next screen until you've watched the whole of the video. And if you remove that as well, then they can't just jump through the video. So if you want that kind of control, then you can get that now through the Gomo video player. We can also trigger actions on video. So again, typically this would be used, as we saw with questions, to say, okay, once the video is finished, trigger an action. And again, you could choose, again, you've got the whole range of actions, but most typically, again, you would say link to the next screen. Now, we've seen this being used really successfully with customers, particularly for video-based scenarios. So you could show a video of a particular scenario. At the end of the video, you could trigger the action to move on to the next screen, which would be a question to say, well, what would you do, having watched that scenario, what would you now do? And then based on how they answer that, you can then choose to branch to different parts of the course. So again, it just streamlines that whole learner journey through your course. And here I'm just going to have a look and another refinement, a useful tip that we have customers who have a lot of material, say on YouTube. And so they're using the iframe asset. So remember that the iframe asset gives you a way to be able to embed content from external sources, such as YouTube and Vimeo, or our instilled video platform, or even Twitter feeds, SurveyMonkeys, and so forth. But very often for video, and just a tip here that one useful but subtle thing that we've added, when you look at the iframe properties here, you'll see that we can fix the aspect ratio. And if you're using typically, say, YouTube videos, so the 16:9 aspect ratio, that's the ratio of the width to the height of the actual frame. That's what's typically used for video. So the great thing about that is that no longer will you discover, as you move across screen sizes and so forth, that you suddenly get black bars at the top or bottom of your video. So just select that 16:9, and that will just make sure that everything snaps into place nicely to fit the video that you're embedding. And also that we have at the screen level, we've now added in as well screen level display conditions. Now, this might seem quite an obscure thing, but we've seen this being used successfully, that if you set up a continuous scroll topic, remember in Gomo, you can choose to have what we might call traditional e-learning navigation, where you just click, say, the right-hand next button, if it's a left or right language, to move on to the next screen. But also Gomo lets you add in continuous scroll, which means that Gomo will simply stitch together all of the screens that you have in your topic. So just in terms of how you set that up, you would find your topic in the course view, go to topic settings, and you then have this option to say display content using continuous scrolling. That will join all of your screens together in that topic, so it becomes a simple scroll or swipe for the learner. But also as learning designers, you can now use this screen level display condition. So you can consecutively reveal those screens in the continuous scroll. So for example, when the learner interacts, say, with a film strip and they complete that, then you could then just reveal the next screen down as part of the continuous scroll. So rather than throwing everything onto the screen at once, if you want to, you can get that kind of control over when those screens are going to be added on visually. And the final one that I wanted to mention is actually one of my favorites, because we get asked very often, for those of you who are doing quite complex designs, particularly to do with content locking. So you can lock content both at the screen level, so you can't move on to the next screen until, for example, you've answered the question, or you've looked at all of the steps in a film strip, or you've watched the video, but also that you can provide content locking at the topic level. So if I go into my menu here, that by default in a menu, that a learner can access any of the menu buttons, so get access to any of the topics in any order. But you might want to introduce some kind of flow control for that. So I might say here that I don't want them to be able to get to the second content topic till they've looked at the first one. So I could add in a display condition. So display conditions, the way that we can show and hide things on the screen. But so here, I could add a display condition to say, okay, show this menu button when the first topic is complete. Now, with all of these display conditions, that previously you can have multiple display conditions. So typically I could say, okay, don't show the assessment menu button until topic 1 is complete and topic 2 is complete and so forth. But if you've been trying to figure out some particularly interesting logic for locking and unlocking elements on the screen, and particularly things like menu buttons to do with when people can access an assessment or not, previously, all of these display conditions have been and display conditions. So if this is true, and this is true, and this is true. But what you'll now find in the display conditions is we have this any feature. That means that essentially it's a logical or function. So it can mean that if this is true, or this is true, or this is true, so that you can set up that more complex logic, looking at, say, okay, well, as long as they've done this, or they've done this, or they've done this, then I'm going to unlock this. So I think that's a really great and really powerful feature here. So I just wanted to give a bit of a roundup for some of those recent features. And let's just go back here. And so today we've been looking at how we've reimagined the Gomo user interface. We've tried to make it more consistent, a more modern look, and a simpler way to be able to work to create your courses. Simon's shown us the great things that are going on in terms of the support portal, and particularly the new Gomo Academy, which we'll be constantly adding to as well, a fantastic learning resource to both help you get going with Gomo, but also to learn about all of the great features that we have in there. And then we've just had a look at some of those newer features that you might not have been aware of. And we'd love to get your feedback, both about the new interface, but also about any new features that you'd like to see us develop next. And you can contact us through contact@gomolearning.com. But also, I think Harley's just going to pop up a poll on the screen, because I know that a lot of you who are new to Gomo would like to be able to try this all out for yourself. So we're just going to pop up the poll to see if you'd like a trial of Gomo, just quickly just tick those boxes. Or also if you'd like to have a discussion with us, either if you're completely new to Gomo, to discuss your particular requirements and how Gomo might help. Or if you're an existing customer and we haven't talked to you for a while, it would be great to catch up with you and find out just what you're doing with Gomo. So please do just tick those boxes if you'd like there. That's fantastic. Thank you all very much. So, and again, thank you all for your time. It's been fantastic that so many of you are able to join us. We will be running a future series of webinars, typically once a month, and we'll be sending out details about those. So do keep an eye on for those. We'd love you to join in with the future ones. But for now, we'll say goodbye from me and goodbye from Simon. And we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Huw.